Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Had a little bit of technical glitch. I don't know what happened because we ran a test last week and it was smooth as a baby's bottom. But today we had a little bit of a hiccup, but we are now live. Welcome to No Keys Required with my guest, Jesper. Hello.
Hi, I think I'm on now.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So this is my first international affair, which is very exciting. And we already have a bunch of people in the chat. We got Perry Comics, who's been very patient waiting before even 10 a.m. So welcome. Thank you for hanging out. Just Rican is here. Jay-Z, John's Comics with Kids, Barbarian Kung Fu, Flaming Sheila, Stacy's Weekly Comic Book Picks. Thank you all for coming this early morning on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Comic Head 84, what's up, buddy? So if you'd like to introduce yourself, because I know that maybe some people don't know who you are, which is a shame because your channel's great.
Might be. My name is Jesper. I'm from Denmark, Copenhagen, based in Europe. I'm 46 years old. I have 3 kids. I love comic books. I read almost everything, Marvel, DC, lots of different stuff. Yeah, don't know what else to say about me.
Really. That's fine. You have a horse?
No, my daughter has a horse.
Oh.
Yeah, well, so I almost have a horse.
Yeah, you have access to a horse.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So this idea came to me. Jesper was literally one of my first followers, I think, on YouTube, commenting very early on my videos. And,
right after Reggie.
What's that?
I came in right after Reggie.
Yeah.
I think Reggie, he was number 1, and then I was in second.
Were you really second?
No, I don't know.
I mean, you very well might have been, because I remember you were one of the first people to comment on my videos, and from very early on, you said, oh, I want to do this too, and took you a couple months, but you finally did it, and I've really been enjoying your content. And you did a video on some Punisher books.
Yes.
And you were talking about, how there was there was nothing special about the books per se, but they were, great reads, and they, books like that don't get talked about a lot. And so it got me thinking that, we talk so much about key books and first appearances and money books and all this stuff that, there aren't too many shows that I see where people just talk about great reads that maybe you can get in a dollar bin.
Exactly. And that was my whole, that was my whole intro into this, because I've been watching all you guys on YouTube for a long time, and I sort of missed people just having a love for the comic book instead of talking about value and first appearances and key issues. So someone's enjoying our beards. Great, man.
Yeah.
So
the beard jet.
Yeah. So but that was my I thought that was, I don't know if it was missing. I just thought, if you're new to comic books and you go into YouTube, you see a lot of people talking about the value of comic books, and you have to buy this and you need to buy this, and this is a key issue. But I think that what's special about comic books is the story, and that you need to read them and you need to enjoy them, or you can collect them for any reason you want to. There's no wrong way to collect comic books, but it's like the thing about them is they're enjoyable.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate that a little bit more.
I totally agree. And I think you hit on it where you said, there's no wrong way to collect. So if you just want to collect keys, if you want to collect covers, that's great. We all collect comic books, and that's the important thing. But I think you're right. There is that portion missing that I don't see a lot, where people just talk about great reads or, books that they really like. Everything is like, oh, I got Amazing Spider-Man 300 today, and like, oh, the value of this is a spec book, and which is great. And listen, I fall into the trap too. You look at my wall back here. I just got an Iron Fist 14. So, you know, I'm as guilty as anybody. But
Yeah.
I also, you know, my first reason that I love comic books is to read them and appreciate the story and the art. So I sent you a message and said, hey, would you like to do this show? And you were enthusiastic about doing it. So thank you for joining me today. So we each have, I have two things I want to talk about. You've got one. So I'm going to go first, I guess.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there. My first pick is something that I have talked about briefly on my channel before, but I'd like to go a little more in depth about it. It's a 40-issue series, but you can probably find all of them in a $1 bin, 50-cent bin, or just buy the trades because they're pretty accessible. It is Gotham Central.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever read this or if you've ever heard of it.
I heard of it. Never read it.
It is by so Brubaker and Rucka wrote this together,
Right.
and artwork by Michael Lark through most of it, and it is a street level cop comic book about the Gotham PD, except Batman and, you know, his villains make appearances, but it's really just kind of a procedural cop drama. And I think, you know, that is what Rucka and Brubaker are really great at. And the artwork is very...
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's very appropriate for the subject matter. And there's, you know, Batman making an appearance, but he's in it very sparingly, which I really enjoy, because it's not a story about Batman. It's a story about the cops and who are dealing with this world that Batman is in.
Oh, that's nice.
And they, you know, some very real stuff happens. You know, it deals with relationships and you know, the difficulties of the job, and but, you know, in this framework of this Batman universe. And I don't think anyone has done that before that I know of. You know, there might have been some issues along the way where, you know, it's about the cops, but this is a whole series, and it's I don't know. I was a huge fan of it when it came out. This was, you know, one of those books where you get your pull list for the week, and this was the top of my pile to read.
Right, yeah. So is it like a specific character that you liked? Or
so it follows Renee Montoya a lot, who is now the Question in continuity. But she and a couple other cops are dealing with, you know, right at the beginning. This is, so it's not really like a spoiler, but Mr. Freeze actually kills a police officer by like freezing him, and so they're going after him. But then there's, you know, other just like regular crimes going on, and it follows these other, you know, yeah, see, and there's another Mr. Freeze kill.
Nice.
So it's like I said, it's a cop show, but, you know, they're chasing Mr. Freeze instead of Hannibal Lecter, or, you know, some other just like real life villain.
So would you say that it's like the real world gets intertwined with the DC universe?
Yeah, so yeah, you know, it's it's definitely in the DC universe because it has the characters,
Yeah.
but it feels more like a real life story to me.
Yeah.
You know, even though it has these fantastical characters and these superheroes in it, it doesn't feel as grandiose. It feels like, you know, dirty and you know, street level and real. And these characters are dealing with these life issues along with this crime issue, and you know, work and you know, their interpersonal relationships. And it's they, you know, Rucka and Brubaker are really great at crafting characters and making them three-dimensional rather
Yes.
than just being like, here's some traits of this character. They really make them a real person.
Okay. So that's what. Why did you buy it? Was there a reason? I mean, why did you start buying it? Was it because of Brubaker or?
Yeah, I think I probably, you know, this came out, geez, I don't know, a long time ago now. But I was definitely a fan of Brubaker and Rucka, both of them. And I'm a fan of Batman. I'm a fan of, you know, crime. So I think, and I really like this style of art a lot. If anyone has, you know, watched my channel before, they'll know that this, like, I'm a big fan of style when it comes to art, and you know, rather than hyper realism. So I think that all three of these things drew me to it. I'm trying to find another really cool page. And so, you know, it's one of those things that I just kind of picked up and said, well, I'll give this a shot, because I saw the issue 1, and you know, I kind of fell in love with it immediately. Here's a cool one.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, the art is very, it's very expressive. You look at the faces, and you know, it's simple, but it is very effective. And I don't know. To me, it's sometimes less is more when it comes to art. You know, talk about someone like Todd McFarlane, who I certainly was a fan of back in the day, and you know, don't dislike him now, but you know, all of these little lines and you know, that 90s look of like, how many lines can I put into this image to give it detail? You know, but you know, you pick your lines carefully and deliberately, and you can get more out of the less.
It's a little rougher, the artwork, than the 90s artwork.
Yeah,
I like that too. And it fits the story. That's probably what's most important, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, they blend very well together. Comic Head 84 in the chat quoted me by saying, quote, "I'm a fan of crime." Yes, out of context, that sounds terrible. I'm a fan of crime in stories, not in life. Just to be clear, in case anyone misinterpreted that. Crime is a terrible thing.
Oscars now.
What's that?
You can never host the Oscars now.
Yeah. Oh no. I was third in line. Now I'll never fulfill my dream. So yes, just to be clear, crime is a terrible thing, but it's interesting to read about. So Gotham Central,
right.
10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10. Okay.
Yes.
Right. When I went a little bit more old school, I went back into my boxes and I found a single issue on a run. It's a character that I love very much. It's Daredevil. And there's actually a first appearance in this. I didn't remember, but it's not a very important one. But it's Daredevil 252. It's a Fall of the Mutant tie-in, and that's why I bought it back in the day. I bought it because I was reading the Uncanny X-Men and the New Mutants and the X Factor, I bought all the Fall of the Mutants. That was my first crossover. That was the first crossover where I bought like everything. And I didn't know much about. I had read the Frank Miller Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I picked this up, and it's Ann Nocenti, who's one of the first really important female writers, I guess, of superheroes. And the artwork is by, well, you can see that on the front cover. It's by John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
And inked by Al Williamson. And the what's it called? The editor-in-chief is Tom DeFalco. And what I really like about it is that it ties in, like it fits I like that when they did that back then, they like fit the whole Marvel universe together. So all the issues like impacted on other issues. So the Fall of the Mutants got nothing to do with Daredevil. There's, I think, Archangel is in here for a panel. He's there, but that's it. They just see him up in the sky, and it's all about how people react to a catastrophe. Daredevil is in it as well a little bit, but mostly it's mostly about people and how New York suddenly going black, and they lose electricity and they lose everything. They think it's a nuclear disaster. You can see there's a bomb blast in the background. And they react to that, and it's really just a very emotional human story. And I really like that. It was my first exposure, as I mentioned, to Ann Nocenti, and I started to follow her run. And I think her run on Daredevil is the second best run after Miller, of course. And she is a little bit like Frank Miller to me, because she has like the human emotional aspect of it, where you follow just normal people in the subway.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We didn't pre-choose these with each other, and it's interesting that we both picked things that are superhero books, not about superheroes.
Yes.
I just want.
She's like a left-wing Frank Miller, because Frank Miller is like, now he's like really out there.
Yeah.
But even when he wrote Daredevil, he was a little bit, to the right of things. I didn't mind back then, and still his work is like unparalleled. It's still the best in the superhero business, I think. But yes, it's that's why I laughed a little bit while you were talking about yours, because I was thinking, it's
here I've got this. Yeah.
It's the human, it's the emotional story that got me, and it gets me every time.
Yeah.
You follow different people in this. It's like a double-sized issue, so it's bigger than normal. But you follow a convict who breaks out of jail. You follow a little kid who is I think his name is Kane, and he's seeing this other kid's getting beat up by his mom, and he's sort of enjoying it. And he tells Matt Murdock about it because he feels bad about it. And Matt Murdock doesn't have time because of the world is like ending. And this kid, while the whole world is, they all think that the whole world is ending. So this woman in the hospital, she's really scared. And he's telling her the world is going to end. So she takes her own life.
Oh,
and he feels really bad about it, because the world comes back and it's fine. Oh, no, it's just some superhero stuff.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Jeez, that sounds like a heavy issue.
It is very heavy. It is. And she throws in like a bad guy called Ammo. It's his first appearance, if you're into that sort of thing. He's I think he's in another issue as well. He's really cool, actually. I don't know if you can see him. He's here.
Oh yeah.
He's like in tiger stripes.
I want to call out TJ Watson really quickly. He said, Jasper, he absolutely loves your door.
Oh, the brown one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
What kind of wood's that?
I don't know, actually. I bought it. No, I think I got it for free. Someone was tearing down the house, and that's how I got a lot of my doors. I just walk around here when people are tearing down their houses, and I just take their doors.
Well, I guess Guess it worked out.
Sorry.
Cool. I sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you talking about your book. I just wanted to shout that out because
It's hardwood. Old Wolf 65 says. Yes, it's some sort of hardwood. I don't know if it's not oak. Maybe it's it
definitely looks like
pine.
it looks well crafted.
It is. Well, I didn't make it myself, but yeah.
You should just take credit.
I'll just take credit for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so ammo.
Ammo. No, yeah, no. It's just like if you like human character stories, and if you like Frank Miller, I think you would like Daredevil 252. And it's probably going to be in a dollar bin somewhere, probably in a 25-cent maybe, because there's nothing really happening in this. But it's a really cool read. It's old. It's from from '88, so it's really old. And there's a lot of dialogue in there, like they did back then. You know, it's really heavy with that, but also some good action, some good John Romita Jr. I don't know why, like I've seen a lot of people on YouTube dislike John Romita Jr. now.
Yeah, I think
I don't know why.
He's one of those artists that you either love or you hate, I think. Okay. Because he definitely has a very strong style.
Yes.
And it is very unique to him as well.
Yes.
But it is kind of abstracted, maybe is the word. The way he draws people is a little strange. I am a fan of his. I really enjoy his work. I think he's a great artist. But I understand why some people don't like him, I guess. Whereas some artists that I like, that when other people say they don't like them, I'm like, you're crazy. This person hits it out of the park. But and I think JR hits it out of the park a lot of times too. But his style is so strange in a way that I get why some people are turned off by it. But I mean, clearly, you know, he's been working in the business for, I don't know, 35 years. So he's doing something right.
He is. Isn't he doing something with Frank Miller right now, actually? Superman for DC? Can somebody tell us on the board?
Yeah. There's a bit of a delay for the chat, so we'll see if anyone can tell us that. But yeah, Bake the Snake says, I'm finally on a computer instead of my phone. These emojis look like gumdrops. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube, because like if you look at the emojis like you're going to add one, it looks like a normal phone emoji, but then when you add it to YouTube, it looks all weird and funky. Yeah, I'm going to have to be on the lookout for that issue. That sounds great.
It is.
That writer did a whole run.
She did. I think she started at 236 and she had a run to 291 or 92. So it was a good run she had.
Yeah, wow.
And she went to she did Catwoman and Green Arrow from the New 52. Some people can correct me if I'm wrong. And it was very bad. I don't know. I don't know what happened. She
wasn't inspired, maybe?
Maybe. Hang on a second. She just did running this one. Marvel Comics Present. Talking about fine lines, that's Arthur Adams.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Arthur Adams.
Me too. I love it.
I think he uses lots of lines well.
She did the last story. It's not to talk about it, but it's a Captain America story. And it's about this girl who's a boy, really, but she's a girl because it has to be all about, I don't know. And her mom's a plumber, a really hot plumber.
The tied shirt and the stomach exposed. No one has ever gotten a plumber to their house that looks like that.
I wish. It's Greg Land, so she's very hot. Yeah, but the story is terrible. But I don't
That's
know.
too bad. But the
Yeah,
Daredevil sounds great.
it is. It is. It's a good one. She did the what's her name? Typhoid. Typhoid. Is that
Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary? Yeah,
Yeah.
he invented her. That was a great character, and that was a great run as well in the Daredevil series.
Hmm.
And he went to visit Blackheart, Mephisto's son,
Mhm.
in hell. That was really good as well. It's all over the place, but it was really good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to add that issue to my want list and be on the lookout for it because that sounds right up my alley.
252.
Clearly, since we basically talked about the same thing.
All right.
Um,
Okay, you go with your last one.
so my second book is an indie pick because I can't not talk about indie books, and it's a book called The Veil, and it's a 4-issue miniseries. Um, there are variant covers by Ashley Wood, who I am a
Oh,
huge fan of.
yes.
Um, and so there's issue 2, Ashley Wood cover.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
And I can't find issue 3 at the moment. Where'd it go? There it is. This is the regular A cover for issue 3, but it's very spooky.
Yes. Cute.
And then Ashley Wood cover for issue 4, which is very abstract and interesting. But it is a horror book, clearly, judging by those covers, about this young lady who can see through the veil and can see, basically see ghosts. And she is forced to go back to her hometown in Maine, where she has a lot of baggage left over.
Sorry, who's the publisher?
It's IDW.
Okay.
And
what year? Is it from?
what's that?
What year is it from?
It is from 2009.
Okay.
And it's by either E.L. Torres or L. Torres. I don't know if it's initials. And Gabriel Hernandez is the artist. And I think the art is very effective. Again, like extremely stylized and really like even more so than other stuff. But it is
Wow.
so effective for this genre. So she goes back to Maine and she's faced with all this stuff that she left behind. And
I like that.
it's for me, a lot of horror comics are so much about the gore and the violence and they're not really scary. But this book, I think, was effectively scary. This is a scene in the first issue that I find especially creepy right here,
Oh,
where
cool.
she's sitting at the bar and this guy walks up to her and says, "Hey, Bob, what an exhausting day. You want a beer?" And she says, "I'm not Bob." And then she's like, "Oh, you're dead." And he says, "What?" And then those last panels at the bottom is him realizing that he's dead.
Yes.
And he starts screaming, "Teeth, those teeth." And
I love the artwork.
yeah. And there's just like every page is just
Wow,
it's
beautiful.
just creeptacular. And it's this kind of story about this woman who's just like struggling with, again, real life issues, but also being able to see ghosts and try and uncover this mystery of what's going on in this town in Maine. And it's it's 4 issues, so it's a quick read, but it's really good. And like I said, it's a horror comic that I found scary, which is it's hard to do in, I think, because so many movies and like real-time media rely on sound and the timing of building the tension or like jump scares and stuff like that to get you to be scared. But it's hard in a comic where it's just words and pictures and you read it at your own pace. But I think it's written in a way like that scene that I just read where it's there's a certain true fear to how they present it. And in some of the issues, there's just like she's walking by a house and there's just like this creepy ghost face in the window, which is something that creeps me out to begin with. And it's not like addressed, it's just like it's there, so you can like she just has these dead people all around her all the time. And it's just really well presented. And again, it's one of those things where the art and the story work really well together. I think if it was written differently with like that artist couldn't draw a Batman book. It would just be weird. And if the writer was doing that with like Alex Ross, it wouldn't work. So I think, I think the melding of the two really, really sell it as a piece for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is kind of a theme among all three of our picks today.
And why did you pick it up? Have you heard about it or?
No, this was while I was working at a comic shop.
Oh.
And so I would, put out the new releases and flip through them. And I don't know, just something about this cover made me open it up. And I don't know, I think this cover is, I really like simple to the point covers. And, I think you can overcomplicate a cover. But this is like, I don't know. It represents the story really well. I like the design of the graphic, and I also think it was, because there was also an Ashley Wood cover, and like I said, I'm a huge Ashley Wood fan, so I picked up both, and I was like, oh, both these covers are cool. Let me see what the story's about. And I was buying a lot of just books back then because I was like, oh, maybe I'll read this. It might be great. And a lot of them turned out to be terrible, but every once in a while I got a hit like that. So I think it was just, I was just buying a lot.
But do you still do that? Do you still like try out things or are you
yeah.
now?
No, for sure. I would say less so just because, I try to not buy as many weekly comics because I am kind of, budgeting for reading and collecting. So I don't want to spend $40 a week anymore on comics. On new releases, I mean, I probably end up averaging that with back issues too. But if something catches my eye, for sure, I'll grab it. If it's an indie book, like the one right now that I'm reading, which I've talked about a couple times, is a book called Lodger by David Lapham, who did Stray Bullets. And that was a book that, one of those things. I mean, I like Stray Bullets, so I knew the name. So I was like, I'll give this a shot. And it's been very very enjoyable so far. So that was, I made a good choice with that one, but I've been a little more selective in the random books I buy, for sure.
Lodger is the crime thing with the serial killer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good?
I've enjoyed it so far. It's a little bit non-linear, which I don't mind, but I'm not really sure kind of where they're going with it yet. But each individual issue has been, I've really enjoyed them. And the first couple were kind of felt like standalones, but they're kind of weaving them together now. So I would say it's probably going to read really well in trade. I don't know if you read trades much.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's not so much fun. I mean, the the issues are more fun to collect.
Yeah, for sure.
Trades are just for reading.
I tend to get a lot of trades from my local library. I don't buy a lot of trades.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know if your library there gets comic books at all.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So, geez, this sun is really in my eyes. But yeah, I agree. I prefer to buy issues. I prefer to read issues. I'll buy a trade of something that I really love, like, I talked about it enough, but Mr. Miracle, I bought that trade because it's something I know I'm going to want to read over and over and over again. But I much prefer to read individual issues, just because I don't know. There's something about reading a comic, which I'm not. A buddy of mine texted me yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, the Marvel app is having a sale. You can get the First Immortal Hulk trade for $2.99." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds great, but it's digital." And I have a real like, some people like read all their comics digitally now, even though I know, like, my friend Thanatos, he buys all the individual issues but reads them digitally.
Because
Which
you didn't want to mess them up.
I guess, or maybe because you can read them at work that way.
Oh, okay. Well,
don't tell anyone. But I've tried to read digital comics, and there's something missing about it to me. There's the way you turn the page. It's just you don't see the whole. I don't know. You don't take it in the same way for me.
Yeah. I'm definitely like Caleb.
Yeah.
Comic. Smurf. Murphy. Whatever. Yeah. I need paper as well. I need to. I think there's a link between. I write a lot in hand. What do you say? What do you call that? Longhand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I need the connection between my hand and my brain. Maybe because I'm old.
Rather than typing.
Yes, I like that, and it's the same when I read. I can't read, like, if I have to read a lot on a computer, I print it out and I read it, because I don't know. It's hard for me to read on the computer. And the comic book, it's I don't know if they changed it, but when I was researching it last time, I was researching it. You had to like move the thing on the screen to read it. And that just annoyed the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I can like sit here with this and like read the whole thing. And if it's a spread page, it's very nice.
Yeah.
But there you have to like go and,
you have to, right. Especially if you're like reading it on something small like your phone, you have to like zoom into a panel and.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No, you have to take in the page as a whole, because it was made that way, right? It was made with the intention of you seeing the page, or even seeing two pages. And it, at least for me, that's what good artists do in comics. They create a page. I talked about this with like Mike Mignola, especially. It takes into account the whole thing. So it's about telling the story, and it's about an individual panel, but it's also about your viewing experience when you see the page, and that can tell a story as much as the individual panel for me.
Yes.
Kachung says you need to have it in your hands to really enjoy it.
I don't want to comment on that.
On what? Oh, have it in your hands to enjoy it. TJ said he really enjoyed reading Daredevil 1 on my iPad. Yeah, TJ was on our new Comic Book Day book club, and he couldn't get to the shop, so I sent him the digital code for my Daredevil 1 that just came out.
Don't you think that this is gonna like go away? Like, I don't know, you're younger than me, but I think
not by much.
I don't know how old you are.
Almost 39.
All right, so you're a little bit younger than me. But I don't know if it's more common with the youth to read on the phone, and I see people on the train.
Yeah.
They're sitting with their phones and they're watching movies like on
Yeah.
their phone. I can't do that. It's too small. Like I can't concentrate on it.
Yeah. I certainly have watched TV shows like on my break at work on my phone, but
All right.
yeah, I feel like if I had like a train commute, I would probably break down and just start reading digital comics on it, because you have to do something, and I'm not going to bring a loose comic book on a train. And
Why not? Why not bring a comic book?
Just because I would be afraid to damage it more than anything.
But isn't that's a bit annoying for me, actually. When I started this whole YouTube thing, I really got into the whole grading thing as well. And now I really I'm much more focused on not damaging the book when I read it. Like when I was younger, I didn't give a crap.
Sure.
I just read it, and I just bought them everywhere, and I just enjoyed them, on the train. But now I'm like, I'm much more. Maybe it's because they're more expensive now. I don't know. Or maybe it's just that we have this tendency to, like, we want everything to be a 9.0, and if it's not, it's worthless.
For me, it's not necessarily about like keeping the value of the book. I mean, it is if it's something that's an expensive book. Obviously, I don't want to damage it. But just like an everyday, whatever, dollar bin book, even if it's in my collection, I just don't want it to look ugly. Like, I don't want to have like a bunch of huge spine creases. So if I'm flipping through my bin and I see it, it's like, oh, what an eyesore,
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like older books, like my Fantastic 449, like I'll take that in a low grade all day, because I'm just happy to own it. But if it's a modern book that I'm buying off the shelf, like for example, I don't know if it's over here somewhere. I bought a second copy of an issue recently because the one I got in my pull had like it was a black cover and had 3 huge spine ticks. And I was like, I can't live with this. So I bought a second copy at another shop, because they, the shop that I got it from only got the one for my pull. So I found one in another shop that is, a much nicer looking copy. And I don't know. I've just always been that way. I've been very protective of this stuff. And, I'm not afraid to read it, and I'm not afraid to like handle them. And if I make a 9.8, a 9.4 by reading it, or, even an 8.5, it's fine. But there's like a certain threshold for me, I guess, about what is acceptable for, I guess, imperfections.
All right.
So that's a very long-winded answer as to why I wouldn't read a comic book on a train. It has nothing to do with like being embarrassed or ashamed to read comic books, because that's certainly not the case.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore. But when you were a kid, weren't it different back then?
When I was a kid, I think it's different because comics were a kid thing.
Yeah.
But when I got into junior high and high school, for sure, I kept it quiet, because it was not cool to like comic books.
No.
And I graduated high school in 1998, and so from 1996 to 1998, when I was in junior high and high school, and comics were for nerds, man. And so
what did you read back then?
I read a lot of the same stuff I read now. Batman and Spider-Man were my favorite superheroes, and still are. So I read a lot of that. I was a huge Valiant fan back in the day when it was still good, at the beginning of the Valiant universe.
Oh yeah.
So after Unity, it got a little shaky, but the early Valiant stuff I was a big fan of. Yeah, Perry Comics says, as Tank says, I don't know if you saw the stream the other night, Tank said that in high school I had a backpack full of friends, referring to comic books, which I think is something a lot of us can relate to. I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but you know, I was not the most popular kid in high school. I mean, I had friends. I wasn't like a complete loner or anything, but you know, it was definitely something that I turned to. I was a big fan of Gen 13. That was a comic
Yes.
that I absolutely loved. Not only because it had a lot of sexy ladies in it, drawn by J. Scott Campbell, but you know, it was about teens, you know, struggling with figuring out their lives, but through
that's why I love the X-Men.
Yeah.
When I read them, they were like these nerdy. That was the Claremont Byrne run. They were like out there were like adults, but they were still like different and scared and had problems and all that. That was before Jim Lee came in, and they all got like beefed up and muscled, and all the women dropped all their clothes and.
I mean that was the 90s.
90s, yeah.
That was the trend back then. But yeah, early Image for sure. I was into Wildcats and Cyberforce were my two favorites of that first Image run. I did not have a beard in high school, Katrina. I actually strangely couldn't grow much facial hair until halfway through college, where it just like all came in at once. And so I've had this beard. Well, I haven't had this beard, hasn't been this long, but I've had a beard now for, almost 20 years.
Oh yeah, you had a beard for 20 years?
Yeah, I've not shaved fully. So okay. I mean, it was short for a long time, but yeah.
Now you've done you're doing the Muslim look.
Just doing the, I don't know what it is.
But I shaved my beard. What was it? Like 3 months ago, and I looked like a freak.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So a bunch of guys. This is totally off topic, but a bunch of guys at work are doing this thing called Mustache March, where they're either growing a mustache or shaving down to a mustache. And one guy asked me if I would do it, and I was like, I don't think I can. And two other people I work with were like, you can't do that. Like I'll quit. Like I'll walk out right now if you come in without a beard, because like, you know, I'm the beard guy.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I got going for me. So if I shave my beard, who am I? It is my identity at this point.
Yeah. You got a haircut as well, didn't you?
I did. Thank you for noticing.
Dressing on your looks, but yeah, it's really short in the side.
Yeah, I told him to go short. I'm sick of, I don't know.
Sick of the long hair, yeah.
I used to have really long hair, and it's super curly, so it was like out like this.
Okay.
It looked ridiculous.
Nice.
So yeah.
So yeah.
No keys required, but beards apparently are.
Yes. We should definitely do this again.
Absolutely. I'm sure you and I both have plenty more books that we could talk about.
Yes. Is the Veil thing, is that out in trade?
Yes, it is.
Everything is, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. I'll try to find it.
Yeah. I'm sure you can probably get it right on Amazon or something, or I don't know. There's a website here in the States. I don't know if they ship internationally or if it would be too expensive if they do, called Cheap Graphic Novels, which has a lot of, I don't know how they sell them so cheap, but they just steal trucks from Diamond, but they're like way undercut a lot of times from a lot of other sites. So not looking for a sponsorship, but that's a good resource for anyone who is looking for trades. Cheap Graphic Novels.
Cheap Graphic Novels. All right. I'll check it out.
People are asking me beard questions now. How do you profile your beard so it's not bushy on the side but has the length? I just basically I I have a beard trimmer, and I put it on a low setting and just shave down the sides here, and then trim this way, and shape it like a bush. What do you call those things? Topiary.
Do you use any product in your beard?
I have used like beard oils and stuff before, but not consistently. I probably should. It's terribly unhealthy right now. It's got a lot of split ends and stuff, but.
Okay.
Do you?
No.
We should just do a beard show.
We should, yes.
we can get Barbarian Kung Fu on here, and we can talk about beards.
Yes.
Yeah. So for Jesper, it's 6 hours ahead. So it's right after 5 p.m.
Yes.
Or 1,700 hours, depending on if you're European or American.
Yes.
So you are probably ready to get ready for dinner.
Yes, I'm. I'm just gonna be. I think I'm just gonna watch a movie tonight. Just be on the couch.
That's the best thing.
Yeah, Sunday night.
Yeah. So thanks so much for hanging out. We're supposed to get a bunch of snow here this afternoon and tomorrow morning, and then I'm supposed to fly out tomorrow night. So hopefully it's cleared up by then. So
where are you going?
I'm going to Florida to visit a friend for a week.
Oh, nice.
So get out of the cold a bit, get a break from this brutal weather that we're having here in New England. And so I will be absent from YouTube, but this evening at 6:30 p.m., I'm doing a live auction with John's Comics with Kids and Comic Books NYC and DS Comics. So if anyone would like to hang out and join that, I will be making a fool of myself trying to sell some books.
So is it just going to be you selling books, or
no? Yeah, all four of us are going to have stuff for sale.
Okay.
So
if I can stay awake, I'll.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be real late for you, but
yeah.
You can check it on the rewind, and if there's anything, the last one we did is there are these. I don't know how it really started, but everyone has expected me to do impressions on auctions.
Oh, okay.
So that's become a thing. Yeah, today the auction is tonight at 6:30, I believe. Right? It's Sunday. Yes, tonight 6:30, right here, White Whale Comics channel. Getting that Florida hunt money. Yeah, I'm gonna go to a couple shops while I'm down in Florida. But a shop yesterday, a buddy of mine calls me up and says, "Oh, hey, this shop having a 50% off sale today. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I want to go." That's where I got that Iron Fist 14. So,
oh, can you show us? I can't see it.
Oh yeah, hold on, let me grab
it. Iron Fist 14. The first Sabretooth. Oh, and it's not CGC. It's raw.
Yeah, Bake the Snake, you're right. We were talking Princess Bride, and you busted out Andre the Giant. That's how it started.
Oh.
So here it is. It's a really nice copy, except for this. So some shop back in the day scribbled out 30 cents and wrote 15 cents, which I actually kind of like.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that like they had to discount this book because nobody wanted it. So I think that's like an interesting little piece of comic lore. It's still kind of ugly, but for the price I paid for it, I'll take it. But otherwise it's in great shape, great color. It's pretty.
Sorry, is it John Byrne inside?
What's that?
Is it John Byrne art inside?
I don't actually know who did the art on this book.
Can't remember.
But it's got like one little spine tick down here and a little bit of staining right here, but
it looks nice.
Yeah, it was on my 2019 want list, so check that one off.
Wow! All right. And why did you want that book?
It's the first appearance of Sabretooth.
Yeah, you like Sabretooth?
I do.
Okay.
I'm I'm a Wolverine fan insofar as him not being like a lead character, but I think he's a very interesting character when done, as a supporting character kind of. But I think his relationship with Sabretooth and their fights, some of the classic fights in Marvel history are Sabretooth versus Wolverine. And this is just like one of those classic iconic covers to me. So it was just like a book I always wanted as a kid, because it was, you always saw it in the magazines as being, this important book of a first appearance of this character. And so it just kind of stuck with me.
All right.
Gilbert Gottfried impression tonight. Sure. Daymers, you got it. Gilbert Gottfried. He is a terrible racist comedian who, well, he hasn't always been terribly racist. Have you ever seen Aladdin?
Yes. Oh, he's the parrot.
Yes, he's the parrot.
Oh, yeah.
But he recently has said some racist stuff, and it's kind of as far as I know, I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. But he said something that pissed people off. And so
okay.
He's kind of on the outskirts, but he's definitely got a very unique voice. Barbarian Kung Fu is requesting a Rocky impression. Okay. I'll start trying to write these down. But thanks so much for joining me. This was great. I really enjoyed it. We will definitely do this again. Thanks for everyone in the chat for hanging out this early morning on Sunday and or afternoon for you. But enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see some of you tonight, or I will then see you next week when I get back. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.